Super Rugby AU Team of the Week for round 9. Possibly my favourite round of Super Rugby AU. As the Waratahs and the Rebels had a bit of a barnstorming game. And the result still leaves both sides in with a bit of a shot. And the Force, expected to get an absolute hiding by the Brumbies, gave them a good run. The result still went the way of the Brumbies, but the game itself was pretty good. So I've picked some guys from all the teams. And as always, you guys can let me know your thoughts. And as always, it's a kind of a fantasy style team. Don't necessarily put the jersey numbers on the guys' backs because they do tend to move around a bit. But here we go. Start with Alatoa from the Brumbies. Now, to be fair, that scrum had its issues for the Brumbies. But when you look at who was conceding all the penalties, I think it was Slipper had about 3, whereas Alatoa didn't actually have any. So the Brumbies scrum is still not the finished article at the moment. It's been under a fair bit of pressure. And the Force, I was actually going to put Longbottom in, but his other stats weren't that fantastic. But scrummaging-wise, I think he's really improved the last few weeks. Alatoa, otherwise, like I'm saying, it's not his fault at the scrum, but his other around the park stats, which is not why you pick a prop. I digress. 13 runs, 20 metres. He had a try denied. 3 passes, 11 from 11 tackles, so very defensively solid. He did have 2 turnovers conceded, but did his part in the scrum, even if it wasn't going their way. And around the park, very, very busy man. Another prop, I've gone with Harry Johnson-Holmes, this time from the Tars. He had a try, which is always good for a prop to get a try. 13 runs for 8 metres. 5 from 5 tackles. He won a turnover. If we can keep him in Australia, he's definitely got a bright future. I know the Aussies get a fair bit of stick for their scrummaging, but there's a fair few good props in the competition at the moment. Obviously, he's not going to get like the same degree of press that Tupou gets, but he can play both sides of the scrum as well. Excellent stuff. He did have 2 turnovers conceded and 2 penalties conceded if you are looking for black marks, but overall, I thought it was pretty good. Hooker, I've gone with Jordan Ulisi from the Rebels. 100% on the line-out. That's more you could say for any of the other line-outs in the competition this week. 10 from 10 tackles, so defensively, again, absolutely on point. He had 4 passes, 4 runs for 2 metres, which is not huge numbers. He beat a defender, though, and won a turnover. So he's kind of had one of those weeks without so much of a black mark. I mean, he did not do exactly huge work with ball in hand, but overall, I think you'd still be pretty happy. Locks, I've gone with Jeremy Thrush from the Force. He had 4 passes and 7 runs for 6 metres, so he's always into a bit of everything. 10 out of 13 tackles is solid. 3 missed tackles is probably more than he personally would like, but that is what it is. He had 4... No, hold on a second. Can't read my own writing. I think it says 1 offload. 1 offload, we'll go with that. A penalty conceded, but if you look at his work, because those stats are fine without being phenomenal, 7 line-out wins and 2 line-out steals. In the air, the man was dominant, so kudos to him for that. Another lock, I've gone with Murray Douglas from the Brumbies. He's been putting in some good shifts as well. 2 runs for no metres, though, is not the best effort. However, 3 passes, 15 from 15 tackles as a defensive shift. I remember the Brumbies were under serious pressure at times. He did concede 1 penalty, but also won 3 lineouts. So overall, pretty good effort. This man, Fergus Lee Warner. If there's one guy from the Force that you think, man, he should be on Dave Rennie's list. I know there's lots of good Lucies in Australia. The guy plays lock as well. He's maybe a perfect contender to have on the bench. I don't know. He seems to always have a big impact, and this week was no different. He had a try, 13 runs for 29 metres, so he is a very dynamic player. Beat a defender, had an offload, made 12 from 13 tackles, and that's the other thing. He's got a huge engine on him. Didn't concede a penalty, had 4 line-out wins. Bro, he does a bit of everything. Scores tries, tackles, offloads. There's a bin coming up my driveway. Dempsey from the Tars, he's had another top shift, and he continues to have him. He also had a try and 17 runs, so he was all up into the ball. 47 run meters, 4 passes and 2 offloads. 4 from 4 tackles is not the biggest shift defensively, but man, he had 17 runs. That's ridiculous. 2 offloads, like I mentioned. Just 1 turnover conceded. He didn't concede any penalties. He had 3 turnovers, 1. So maybe he's not doing necessarily the work with the tackles, but he's being that first arriving player to pinch that ball at the breakdown, and also had a line-out win. So a very good outing for number 8s, especially in Australia, because this guy as well, Ezi Naisarani, he had a top shift. He scored 2 tries and was a big key cog on a losing side, basically. 15 runs for him, so also very busy. 25 run meters, so not the same meterage as Dempsey, but he had a clean break and an offload. 15 from 16 tackles. He didn't get any turnovers, so maybe kind of opposite thing from Dempsey. He was doing the thing, first line contact. He did concede 1 penalty. But yeah, man, who do you pick if you're bloody Dave Rennie for number 8? Do you go with Naisarani? Do you go with Dempsey? Do you go with Pete Samu? Do you go with Harry Wilson? I don't know. I don't know, man. There's just so many good options at the moment. It's a pleasing problem for Dave Rennie to have. Next, into the backs, Jake Gordon from the Tars. I'm kind of up and down on this guy. A couple of years ago, I would have sworn he was the best number 9 in the country. And then he kind of seemed to go off the boil. He couldn't even get the starting job at the Tars, but now he seems to be back on. He had a try, good sniping run for that one, good heads-up play, which is what 9s should be doing to keep defenders on their toes. 4 runs, 24 meters is a great return. 63 passes, pretty busy evening. 2 offloads, a clean break, and 3 defenders beaten. I do like running 9s that can honestly, make defenders question whether they need to move in on the 9 or if they need to go out because he's going to pass it. 4 from 4 tackles is also good. He won a turnover. Black mark is 3 turnovers conceded, but overall, I think if you're a Tars fan, you'd be pretty happy with his shift, even if they didn't win the game. And another Tars man to go on, Will Harrison. He's another very bright prospect in Aussie rugby, so there's a lot of pleasing stuff from this competition, and Will Harrison's performances are definitely among them. He scored his first try for the Tars, which was really good for him. He seemed pretty pumped to get that one. Good run from a charge down. And Hooper was in with a good shout for this game as well, to be fair. 5 conversions and a penalty, 100% kicking rate for 18 points. He's been radar accurate with that boot of his this season. 3 runs, 34 meters, although the commentators did say a lot of them were from straight up in front. Beat a defender, whereas Kunzel from the Brumbies always seems to kick from the sideline. Beat a defender, 15 passes, 2 from 2 tackles, 1 turnover conceded as a potential black mark, 7 kicks from hand, so does a bit of everything. And like I said, with him, Lolosio, a couple of young guys, you got John O'Lance who might be in the mix, you never know. James O'Connor, Matt Tamura plays 10-12. There's a bunch of senior guys who can help walk them through as well. Midfielders are going with Ire Simone. Man, have I picked him a lot this season. He's been in top form, I reckon. He did have one little moment where he tried to do a bit of a Richie Mo'unga style restart, drop kick, 22 dropout, grubber, and he made an absolute meal of it. But that aside, he had a try assist, which was a better use of his boot. 11 runs for 60 meters. He had a clean break and a defender beaten. 17 passes, which is very busy if you consider that that Harrison for the Tars only had 15 and he's had 17, so he's making himself available. 11 runs. I've already written that down. I wrote that twice. 15 out of 16 tackles. 1 turnover conceded, I would say, is his little grubber kick moment. But other than that, pretty consistent. And also another 12 in this case, Matt Tamura from the Rebels. Again, losing effort, but he was certainly involved in a lot of the good things they were doing. He had a try, 3 conversions and 2 penalty goals. The goal kicking wasn't quite up to the same level for the Rebels. I think it was like 70-odd%. But he was involved in 17 points, also had a try assist. A clean break, a defender beaten, 6 from 7 tackles, 1 penalty conceded. But overall, I am still preferring Tamura at 12 rather than 10. Marika Korabiti in my outside backs continues to go well. He seems to be a pretty consistent performer, again with a try. 4 runs for 50 meters is a pretty great return, including a clean break and 2 defenders beaten. He had 5 passes, which means he's pretty busy. So interesting, he had more passes than he did runs. An offload and 5 from 5 tackles. It's always impressive when you can see outside backs kind of go more than 4 or 5 tackles and keep a 100% ratio. But I think the defenses overall were pretty solid. Tom Banks, I thought, had his best game of the AU season. Kind of about time, because I don't think he's quite been his Wallaby Prospect 15 self thus far. A try and 14 runs, and that was his first try of the AU season as well. 128 run meters. As a fullback, he gets a few of them for free, but still don't take that away from him. Very good numbers. A clean break and 6 defenders beaten. Now, those don't come for free. You have to work for those ones. 9 passes. Again, 4 from 4 tackles. Good to see outside backs getting those numbers. He did have 1 turnover conceded. And lastly, I've gone with Andy Muirhead, again from the Brumbies. He's just looked dangerous as well. Very sharp. A try, 5 passes, 10 runs. He prefers to run it than pass it, which is probably what a winger's numbers should look like, to be fair. 67 run meters, 2 clean breaks, and a defender beaten. Defensively, 6 from 7 tackles, so all 3 outside backs had pretty good defensive numbers this week. He did have 2 turnovers conceded, 1 try denied, and an offload and everything as well. But all 3 of the Brumbies outside backs actually were very impressive this week. So yeah, overall, plenty of feel-goods from me for Super Rugby AU at the moment. The competition, I think, is just really heating up, man. There's not long to go, and we've got the, one more round of regular season, then a couple of knockout games or a final, semi-final and a final. But yeah, I hope the games are increasing in popularity, because the interest levels don't seem to be as high as they could be, but the product on display, I thought, in recent times has been top-notch. A few people who I've snubbed. I mentioned Longbottom for his scrummaging. Wilkins' defence for the Rebels was top-notch as well. Walton for the New South Wales. He's another young player. Scored a try. Did very good. And Wright for the Brumbies. Also got some good run meterage. Spilled the pill a few times. But overall, I think has been in top form as well. So, yeah. That's the team of the week. You guys let me know your thoughts. And, yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.